everyone, I'm Melanie with Painting Crafty, and tonight is Thursday Night Draw Along on YouTube. So tonight I'm going to be walking you step by step how to draw this sweet little Valentine character, this little bunny. He's got that little bit of furriness all the way around him, and I'm going to show you how to do that this evening. I'm going to bring out a little extra small brush. Whoop, I'll do it this way, I guess. I'm going to have this little extra small brush. So if you have one of these, you're going to want to grab those to be able to try this little fur technique that we're going to be doing tonight. So I'm going to walk you step by step how to draw him, and then I'll be teaching you the watercolor at the end. So those who might be new to my channel, because I know there's new people coming in all the time, Canson watercolor paper, the 140-pound cold press paper is what I like to use. It's still considered a student grade, which means it's reasonably priced, but you're just going to get a nice result, easier paper to work with, and I highly recommend that one. Just use a little bit better watercolor paper, and then just buy the watercolors that you can afford. So they're all different kinds of watercolor. Hello, my sweet friend Gloria. Thanks for coming on. I so enjoyed seeing your drawing last time. Last time, for those who didn't join us, we did this little sweet gnome, and Gloria likes to do other things besides gnomes. So she decided to make her character a bear, and sweet as can be, sweet as honey, as we like to say. All right, let's go ahead and pop you over here so you can see the drawing big. Hello, Donna. Thanks for coming on tonight. Good to see your name pop up. Let's go ahead and maybe, I'm trying something new this evening. I raised my camera up. I was noticing I had a little issue with the camera wanting to refocus. So I'm going to see if this will help, because when I get my hands in there, it wants to refocus on me. So you can let me know if it works or not. So let's start here. I'm going to be working on a 6x6 piece of paper, which is the size I'm going to be working on. And I like to draw a grid on my paper just to help explain how I'm drawing things. So I'm just going to do a line down the middle and a line and then across it on the middle as well. So that just helps me show you where I'm drawing, how big I'm drawing things. So it usually helps. I'm going to try to leave this guy here in the picture so you can still see him as a reference as well. I'm going to start with my bunny. So I'm going to start with his head right here. You'll notice that the top of his head touches that line right there at the top. So that's where I'm going to start. It's just a U shape that's coming around, and then his little basket's going to be a little bit bigger. I thought it was kind of cute how he's writing it in the little bit of a hot air Valentine balloon. So let's come here and let's start the top part of his head. Now there is a little stylized way I drew it if you would like to try, and maybe I should point that out before I start. This little U here is narrower here, but you will notice I chubbied his cheeks out just a little bit more on the side. So I drew it's not a complete U. I'm going to have like a little backward, like a C shape here, and then a backward C kind of pattern here. So if you'd like to try doing that, a little bit of stylized face, that's how I did it. So it's not just a complete simple U. So I'm going to try drawing it that way as well. So I'm going to come here, going to come around. And I know I got to have room to be able to put some sort of bottom part on it, maybe a colorful hills on there. So I'm going to come around, and then I'm going to be doing those little cheeks that are going to be off to my side, a little bit puffier. I have to do this in a sketchy hand motion. I can't do it all in one line. It's just warming my hand up, figuring out where I want to go, and it's not necessarily the correct way when I first start out. So I always find it comfortable starting with those more sketchy type of feeling to it. And then I need to look, do I have enough room? Do I have enough room to get a nose in there? Do I have enough room to get a nose? If you're going to put glasses, is your head wide enough to be able to do that? It's also got some little teeth right there as well. So if you've drawn yours, take a look. Does it look like you might have enough room to get all that in there, or do you need to make it slightly wider? So you can always redraw it and add a little bit more. I think I'm going to make mine a little bigger. I think I'm going to make his cheeks just a little chubbier, like that. Now I need to look at mine to see if I've got it more even, like my sides look like they're kind of the same size. And what I'm looking at was, here was that center line. I'm looking here to see if my spaces look similar. And if they do, then I know I kind of have it drawn the way that's even on both sides. Okay, I think that's plenty of room to get my glasses in, to get my nose in. A few little cute whiskers, got to have those on the bunny. All right, let's go ahead and put his nose in. So I'm going to put my nose about right here. I'm going to do an upside triangle. It's going to be a little rounded off. I did a pretty good size nose on my bunny. So when I put my glasses in, they're going to be off to the side. I'm going to do just a simple little muzzle, down and hook to the right, down and hook to the left. Bunny teeth, I'm going to put a line down my middle, just make a little rectangle shape. And there you got some bunny teeth. That's pretty easy. Now let's go ahead and make our glasses. Now the glasses, the way I drew them, so they look like they were over kind of his nose, is I drew it actually into the nose a little bit. So my round circles are carrying into my nose. Now when I did this one, my left one is slightly bigger than my right one. So this time I'm going to pay a little bit more attention and see if I can't get my round circles to be a little bit more even. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and pop my glasses in. So I'm going to start here, and maybe I'll make them bigger this time. That might be a simpler way to get more of an even look. I like those big old glasses on that bunny anyway. Let's come over his nose. Again, I'm doing that sketchy motion. Circles are tough to draw all the same time, all the same width. Now when I look here, I can tell I got more nose showing here than I do here. So I either need to change my nose or change my glasses. I think I'm going to change my glasses. I think I'm going to bring them in ever so slightly. There's the tip of my nose. Now that looks a little bit more even, and perhaps my circles are a little bit more even as well. Okay, so there we go. That's what erasers are for, though. We can check things, erase things. We don't have to be 100% certain that they're exactly right the very first time we do them. Let's throw some bunny ears in. Now, when you're doing your bunny ears, it looks kind of cute, or at least I thought it did anyway, to have them going the opposite directions. So they're kind of fluffy, they're coming out, so they've got that nice little bend out and back. Got to have enough room for the balloons at the top. So that's the only thing. Or if you want to drop your ears down, you might have more room for a bouquet if you need that there. I'm going to draw mine kind of up and out. So here we go. We're going to come this way, kind of like the Trix Rabbit's ears. Well, Trix Rabbit would probably be larger, but we're going to come around. It's wider here, and then I'm going to get narrower as I come in. There we go. Now I'm going to make this a little bit rounder, not too squared off. Let's do it a little bit more round. Okay, now if you want to, you can come over here, do like an invisible line over, put a little register mark lightly. If you're kind of looking to see how high, or you want to match your rabbit, you could easily do that. So let's come up to the side here. Come on up. I'm going to head up to my registration mark, and then I'm going to do my little rounded ears again, and then come right on back, kind of like upside down hockey sticks. Okay, I'm going to erase this part here so it looks like my ears are going into my head. You can also decide if you're going to put a little bit of tuff at the top, just a tiny bit, a little bit of tuff. I'm going to be adding that little bit of fluffy look to my rabbit, so I'm going to get some look, a tuffy look or a fluffy look when I do it that way anyway. Now let's drop in his eyes, and normally when I do eyes, now these ones are a little closer to his nose, but again, they're going to be, one's going to be going this direction and the other one will have a slant that way. I like the look of that. You could do them straight up and down too. You could do them a little bigger if you decided your bunny wanted to be having big eyes. So this is what my little eyes, kind of like little sideways jelly beans right in there. And when I go ahead and do my marker work on here, I will make this dark, but I'm going to try to leave a catch light if I can, just a little hint of white. That'll bring them to life if you have that little bit of white right there. Now let's go ahead and stick them in this cute basket. So we're going to draw this basket. The only thing that's a little bit is when you're doing the basket is make this rectangle here first underneath the bunny. Then you're going to be coming in a little ways on each side. And this is going to be a U shape, but you're going to have a little bit of a flat space on there because the bunny basket would have to land on the ground. So you're going to want to put a little bit of a flat area there. So it's not, again, it's not just a complete little like U shape. So let's start here. I do want him to look like he's peeking down. So I'm going to be going over just a little bit of his face, barely like tucking it right underneath those teeth. I want it to look like he's kind of tucked down into that basket. So I'm not going to see a lot of that. So I'm going to erase this part here. There we go. Now my little bunny is rather tucked down inside of there. I draw off to the side because of where the camera sits and everything. So sometimes my lines get a little wonky and I can't exactly see just right. But I want it to be right in there, like that. And then I'm going to make a backwards C here, or I'll C, a C, and then another backwards C this direction. Okay, there we go. And that's the top part, so then let's go straight across. This will be the rim of my basket. Now let's create the bottom part. This is where the hills are going to be, so you might want to pop in your little bit of hill line there if you want to, just to give you an idea of how much room you might have. I'm going to do them very skinny, going to come across just a grouping of 3. They come up and they come down, real simple. And then now let's make that basket. So I'm going to start down like I'm making a U. But then I want to carry just a little bit of a flat bottom and then come right back around with a U. So give it a curve. Okay, there we go. And maybe I need to make it a little wider. Let's make it a little wider. I want it to look like a nice sized basket that the bunny has a little bit of room to be in. I'm going to erase this line so that's ready to go. Okay, have that across. Clean that up a little bit so I can see what's going on. Cute as can be. Now let's take a look for our next one we're going to do is the balloons, the bouquet of balloons. So I built my bouquet of balloons right on the center line. So I started with this one right here. That just seemed the easiest to divide off the paper right there. So I'm going to come up here and just make my first set of balloons right here, my first shape. Down we go. Up we go. Oops, now I need to take a look at my heart and see if the sides kind of look similar. Hearts are one of those shapes too that sometimes it can be one way on one side, and then when we go to draw it on the other side, it gets slightly off. I was saying on our draw along on Tuesday that you could cut out a little paper heart like you did in school where you folded it like in the middle and then you put cut the heart shape out, and then when you open it, both of your sides would be even. You could do something like with that and then just trace around it if you wanted your heart to be a little bit more even. I think I gotta bow this out just a little bit more. Okay, all right, cute. Now let's go ahead and string our balloon on next. So then we aren't balloons. Yeah, balloons, string our balloons on next. I was thinking kite, but that's not what we're drawing tonight, not kite, we're drawing balloons. Let's see. Keep on tweaking this. Okay, now let's draw our strings. So when we do our strings for our balloon, it's going to be narrower and then get gradually wider, and then they're going to connect on the ends. So let's take a look here. I'm going to come down, head for my side. I'm going to make that strings go behind my bunny ears instead of in front. They're going to go to the edge of my basket. Here we go. And then we're going to come on this side. Okay, now I'm going to erase these in here just to open that space up so I can see what I got going on, and I know I don't need them anymore, so I'm going to erase that marks. Erase this one too. I like using these Pentel erasers, the big ones, the polymer ones. They won't leave any marks on your paper. For these bigger areas, they work really well. And then I have my little vacuum here, little dust vacuum, super quick and easy. Now I left this one here so I could do the X and the O. So I'm going to put my O on the middle, that, and then put my X and another X over here. And then you can erase those where your registration marks are. Now let's build a bouquet. So with the bouquet, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the center one would be 5. So that was an odd number, so I thought that worked well. Let's do I'm going to start with this bigger one on this side over here. I'm just going to stick that on in. So I'm going to come over here. It looks like I ended it right about here. So I'm just going to make another heart. off to the side. Something to think about when you're doing these is that they all kind of need to be going a little slightly different direction. When you're building it, we'll make it look like a cute little bouquet. And then this one, it's going off to the opposite direction. So I'm going to go over this one just a tiny bit to overlap it. Then we're going to come back around. And of course, these are always going to be different every time you do them. Oh, there we go. Unless, of course, you trace them with the tracer. So we're going to come here. Now, this one I'm going to do a little smaller and bring it back in like that. And then over here, I'm going to try to do like a medium size one if I can get that in. So I want to cross over this one a little bit, then come back in, then erase that and see if it looks right. I think I need to make this a little bit out like that to make it look a better shape with that other one I just drew. Okay, I think I got all my little hearts in, and I will put the lines in with a pencil this time. I'm not doing a lot of pen work on this one tonight. I have a few gel pens that I'm using, but I created a wiggle jiggle line like this, and of course all of these patterns can be anything that you would like to add to yours. A little bit of a wiggle jiggle. Doodle patterns, and then this one I'm going to have lines that are coming across. The only thing I thought was that it looked nice to have them all have different patterns. And this one was polka dots, so I'm going to put some partial polka dots and some full polka dots on there. Polka dots, let's see, pokey dots. Some people say pokey dots. Polka dots, let's see, I think that one might have to be a side one. Let's get this one down here. When you're doing polka dots like this, if you think about doing triangle shapes, kind of a polka dot, polka dot, polka dot. So if you look at that as kind of creating a little bit of a triangle shape, that will, in the end, will give a nice look. So here's another triangle. So if you kind of divide your polka dots out that way, you'll get a nice balanced look. Now let's come in here and do the inside of this heart. So I'm going to come up and just copy that. There we go. We have a nice little part like that. Now let's work a little bit on this basket pattern. Now the basket weave pattern, I'm going to start with lines that are coming down this way first, all the way across. And then I'm going to do my check part where I skip every other one. So I'm going to go across, skip one, come over, skip one, come over, and carry that pattern all the way across to give it that more of a basket weave looking pattern to it. So first I'm going to start down. And I'm just eyeballing this. And if they're not even, nobody's going to know the difference. Okay, here we go. Do this lightly, because if you're going to do a banner, you're going to not want to have a lot of pencil marks inside of your banner. So do it kind of lightly. Now I'm going to start here, go over one, skip, and continue over. And then reverse it. So I'm going to come here, start in there, and then skip. There we go. And then let's continue this way. Oh, if you're on YouTube tonight, if you could give me a thumbs up, that would be great. You know how YouTube likes it. With my small little channel, every little bit of help I get helps other people find me. So I so appreciate it. And if you wanted to leave a comment, that's even an extra bonus. And if you haven't subscribed, if you want to hit the bell so you could get notifications and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated as well. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a U shape like this. Not a U shape. I'm going to follow the shape that I just drew on the inside to give him a little bit of an inside of an ear. There we go. And I'm going to put some clouds in. So I'm just going to choose some cloud shapes. I'm just going to do like a puff. These are nice little puffy clouds. I'm going to do a flatter bottom on it with just maybe a slight little wiggle. I'm going to have that cloud like behind this one. And then I'm going to start over here on this side. I'm going to drop a little bit lower, do another little cloud formation, come off to the side. The bottoms are going to be a little bit more flatter. And that one's just going to end right there. Now, if you want to, you can add a few little hearts in the background. And I thought they looked sweet, kind of floating in the air. Just some hearts, but you could add a little bluebird. Maybe the little bird would be carrying a love note in it to someone. Or this could be a male carrying balloon. Lots of ideas of what you could include in this Valentine of a balloon. This might look cute with if you drew the bunny slightly different, you could, well, it doesn't have to be a bunny. You could do shorter ears and make it a different animal. You could change up the nose, make it a little different animal. All kinds of things you could do with this. All right, so we have our little guy all drawn. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use a little bit of my gum eraser. See if I can't lighten some of this line work up. Since I'm not doing a lot of black pen work, I want some of my pencil lines to be a little bit lighter because I'm just going to be using mostly watercolor. So I'm going to come over my line work. This is a gum eraser, so it's just going to pick up the graphite of my pencil and make my lines a little bit lighter. It's a great eraser to include in your box of tools. Okay, I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and start out with my little set like I always do. This is the little inexpensive set that I have, but there's still 50 colors in there. I've already pre-wet it, which is helpful when you're doing watercolor. Oh dear me, I grabbed the wrong brush. I guess I'm going to have to use a bigger brush tonight. Oh, I suppose I could use my other one too. I have a cheaper set which I don't really like as well because it doesn't have a great point on it. The point is kind of wore off, but that's what I have sitting next to me. I guess that's what I'm going to have to use tonight. So when you get a color set, when you get a watercolor set, if you're new to watercolor, you're always going to want to make a color card because the color card will tell you what your colors will look like over a white paper because they look so different in your box than they do in there. And if you are, whatever hand you are, you're going to want to set the water and your paints off on that side so you're not accidentally dripping water or paint on your drawing. Nothing more frustrating to get a big old water spot that you didn't realize you have until the very end. Now I'm going to start out, let's see, I used kind of a raspberry color tonight. Let's see if I get this turned the right way. I used this raspberry kind of color here tonight. And if you look in my pan, you can see the difference. Like here's the raspberry color, but that's what it looks like in my pan. You wouldn't really be able to tell that that was the raspberry color. So this really is helpful. So I'm going to start using the raspberry color tonight. I'm still going to be adding pink, but I'm not going to be adding red tonight. I've been saying I've been in kind of a jag of pink, orange, and red. So tonight I was going to force myself to use something a little different. Now when you're starting your heart in the middle, you might want to think about adding a little bit of a bright highlight to keep it open. And that will just bring a little bit of sparkle. Watercolor is one of those mediums that you can leave some of your substrate showing. And it looks great because that would be your brightest, whitest, bright color. Watercolor, you also start out light and then work your way dark. So this is my lightest color. And watercolor is unique too with the watercolor paper. It's only gonna, the color's only gonna stay where it's wet, where the paper is wet. It's not gonna like float everywhere. Now if I were to get my paper wet outside of my heart, yeah, the color's gonna flow past my heart. But as long as I keep just that area wet where I want my color, it's not gonna move around on me. I was checking to see if I have my brush box. Hang on, just one moment. I need to switch out brushes. That one is just not going to do. You know, if you got a bad brush, you don't want to paint with a bad brush. Get something that works a little better for you. So my favorite ones, my go-to ones, are always the Princeton Velvet Touch brush. They're a nice watercolor brush. They got a great point on them. They'll last you a long time. But those other ones were kind of just ones that I started out with. I still have them inside of my box. I should just take them out of there so I don't get them mixed up. Now I'm just going in with another coat of the color I just did, and I'm darkening up some of the layers, but I'm not trying to cover everything I just put on. I still want to see that first layer here and there. That's the beauty of watercolor, is the translucent layers. So you want to keep those. You don't want to get rid of all those. I'm going to give that a chance to dry, and I will probably add a third layer. Now, since I started with the middle heart, all the rest of the hearts are wet, or would be wet, considered wet. If I color in here, any color I draw or put in here is going to float. My pink is going to float right into it. So I'm going to jump down and work on the bunny. So my bunny, and this is where I'm going to work a little bit of the fun magic of making a little bit of a fur. I have a gray in my set, so I'm working about this color here. I'm mixing to about tea consistency is what I'm mixing to, my water. It's water to paint ratio, so I'm going to be mixing that. But I'm also going to have a color right next to it. I'm going to mix it up right now because I want my paper to be kind of wet when I do this part. Is I'm mixing up a darker charcoal. So I'm mixing a little black with my gray. So I'm going to have kind of a warmer-ishy charcoal color. All right, so I have my two colors, and now I'm going to work on my bunny. So I'm going to take the lightest gray that I mixed, and I'm going to put a layer of that on the outside of my ears. So I want to keep that inside for pink. So I'm not going to put any color there yet. And I'm taking a little bit more of that gray. Okay, and while my paper is wet now, because my paper's wet, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that darker gray, and I'm going to tap it on my edge. And let's see if I've got it dark enough. So this is where I'm going to use this little tiny bitsy brush today. And I'm going to come here to this little puddle right on my edge, and I'm going to use my tiny little brush and pull away. Oops, I don't want to get him too spiky. And I'm going to be creating these tiny little fuzzy little marks and the hair marks on my rabbit. So hopefully you can see that shows up where I've made those little marks on my the hair for my rabbit is coming out that way, but I'm creating it with that darker color at the edge that I'm just tapping in and letting it sit there. And then while it's got that little puddle there, I'm coming in with my tiny little brush and pulling away. Now you could probably do a little bit of a look like this too if you were using your gel pens. If you had a nice thin tip, you could probably create some furry look like this as well. But I just wanted to show how you could do it with watercolor. Now my dark gray is kind of drying lighter than what I want it to. I'm going to go in here quickly and add a little bit more dark to my gray. And I'm going to pop a little bit more of that in there just to give it a little bit more shadow. Watercolor always dries lighter, so sometimes you don't necessarily know the end result until it starts drying. So this is a little darker. If you feel like you got too much, you could go ahead and pick it up. But I'm thinking that might look really cute. I want that real cute fuzziness look to him. He is so sweet. All right, let's do his other ear. So we're going to start with that lightest gray first. Oh, that's the wrong color. I dipped it into the wrong color. Here we go. Let's do the light color. Light gray. There we go. I'm going to come in here and wet this ear again because it's pretty dry. And then I'm going to pick up some of my darker color, tap it in just on the edge. Have a little tiny bit of puddle there. And then I'm going to come in with my little baby brush and pull those wispies out. Out and away. Such a cute little look. Now this is not a watercolor brush. This is just a regular old brush that I have in my stash, and it actually isn't that great of a brush. It's got a little bit of a fanning opening up in it, but it works for this because I wanted that little bit of a fur look, so I'm okay that it's kind of going apart at the end. I'm going to do a little bit more dark so I can kind of match the one I did over here, and I'm going to pop just a few more dark areas in. So if you haven't done this technique before, I hope you give it a try. It is so cute. All right, let's do his face. So I'm going to take a little bit more of the gray, the light gray. Tea consistency. Give it a tap. I got a lot of water in my brush. Now I'm going to go ahead and do his whole face, even over his glasses, but not his nose. Because I want to put pink for his nose, but you're going to be able to see through glasses, so that's why I'm going right over his glasses. I'm not going to go so much over his teeth. I'm going to put a little bluish, more bluer gray on his teeth. Now let's pick up a little bit of that darker color again, and let's tap that in there. Maybe I can pull it out. Cute. I love detail work. I think it is so much fun. Okay, let's go in here. Bring that out again. And then I'm going to mix a little bit darker color. So I'm going to pick up my black, add a little bit of my gray in there. Okay, let's maybe pick up a little bit more of that darker color. Then I'm going to come in and tap just a few more areas of the darker color. Okay, and then I can come in again and pull some of that darker color out to the edges. Now, if you're ending up with too hard of a ridge, like this color here is getting too dark, rinse your brush off and with just clean water, and I tap some of my water off, and then I can come here and soften this line with just a little bit of clean water, and that will soften that mark so you're not getting just like this halo mark of dark color all the way around. Okay, cute. Let's let that dry, and then we'll be able to work on his glasses and his eyes and all those other things. You know me, I'm using colored pencils. Well, I'm glad you're using colored pencils. Whatever brings you joy. It doesn't have to be done my way. I just love showing watercolor. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to use a purple. This dark purple here is what I'm going to be using. And that color is, let's see, gosh, take a look. Let's see, we're over here. So this purple here is actually this purple here, and you can see how different it looks inside of the pan. It's such a different color. Whoops, let's see. Here it almost looks black until I add some water on it. So it really is different color inside of the pan versus when you're going to be putting it on your paper. And that's one of the reasons why I like the ceramic, because I can see what it looks like, because that's a bright white in there. Well, let's do a little bit of purple business on here. So I'm going to do some purple stripes. That crossed this way. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit of purple. I'm going to put that in here, duplicate up my color a little bit in another spot. I like to use my colors around my painting, so like in different areas. And this is the color that I used for my strings. Now I need to go back in and do that little banner of across my balloon, because that's kind of a critical part, and it adds just that little layer of whimsy on there. Okay, and I'm thinking I'm going to pop one of these in as being a purple heart. Okay, cute. All right, I'm going to take the same purplish color that I used before for that original one, and I'm going to tap just a tiny bit more of that color in and darken it up another layer. Whoops, that's the wrong. Well, I guess we're going to mix those two together. We'll come up with a new color. I already had it on there. I might as well use it. There we go. But I'm not going to cover up everything underneath. Okay, well, I like that color combination. I think that looks good. All right, let's pop in that banner before I forget. So I'm going to swag one that comes this direction, this way. And then I'm going to swag another one off the other direction. It looks, I think I like the way it looks if one is slightly, they're not even all the way across. So one is a little bit more droopy than the other one. And let's see, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to erase inside. If there's anything inside of them, open them up. And then I'm going to come back the other way. Let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, if there's something inside, go ahead and erase. Go ahead and erase what might be inside of there, so it opens it all up. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, let's work a little bit more on this rabbit. So I'm going to come in and do his nose, his cheeks, and the inside of his ears. So I'm going to do that in this brighter pink color. I have some of that on my palette, so I'm going to just use that bright pink color. And I'm going to come in and just do his little nose. I'm going to try to leave a catch light if I can somewhere along the line. If I lose it all the way, I can come back in and add it with a uni ball pen. And I'm going to come in here and add a pink little blush inside of his ear. Oh, he's coming to life. I think he's looking so cute. All right, there we go. I love doing rabbits, though. I love Valentine's Day, too, though. I mean, I love doing all the little characters for Valentine's. the sweetness of them all. I'm going to water down my pink pretty good. It's going to have quite a bit of water in it, and I'm going to be blushing these cheeks in. So I'm just going to be tapping some circles. I'm trying not to make a full circle. So I'm just going back and forth, tapping it back and forth. I'm going to put just maybe a little bit on his little muzzle there too. And there we go. Now I'm going to come in with just a clean brush, tap it off. I don't have very much water in there. And then I'm going to soften these outsides of these circles a little bit more, just with clean water, to create the sweet little blush of a color that's on there. Okay, cute. I'm going to darken up that nose just a tiny bit. I'm going to come in with that brighter, kind of that color that we used up there. I'm going to add just a tish bit of that in there too, on the edge, just to bring my color down throughout. All right, let's go ahead and start. I think I'm going to start with the basket. And this basket, I'm thinking I made it pink, the bright color pink first, but fairly loose color. And then I will go ahead and put a little bit of dark shadows on it using the red color. So I'm going to come in this way, and I'm going to come across first for that part of my basket. And then I'm going to come down this way. I'm going to try to go around my banners if I can and not kind of get any color in there. Then they can be a different color easily. So I'm going to try to leave those white and just work around them. It should be fairly easy to do. Okay, let's come here. Okay, cute. Now let's pick up a little bit of that darker pinkish purple. Let's put that over here. And now though this is still wet, I'm going to come down with it. I'm going to follow my lines that I drew. So I'm going to follow those pencil lines to add a little bit more depth into my basket weave and bring it forward and add just a little bit of shadow on my basket. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit of red now, just a tiny bit, and I'm going to pop this in as kind of a shadow line on my basket. So I want to double up and change up my colors so they're not all the same, and add that next layer of color. So it's just a light like glazing over a top of it and changing the color slightly. Okay, cool. Let's do a little bit over here, like underneath, like there would be a shadow. Be a shadow here, a little darker one there. Let's see, I might have used a little bit of raspberry. Let's use this color over here, which is, believe it or not, it's this color here. So you can see how much different that looks dry. It's just a completely different color than what it is going to be when it is wet. It's a bright, colorful pink. Let's see, we're going to come here. Almost a magenta-y like color. And I'm going to add just a blushing. You can always darken things up. It's a little bit more difficult to lighten things. You can lighten things. It's just a little bit harder to do the lightening process, lifting the color. And depending on the color and how it stains your paper, that can affect how it's going to work as well. Okay. I like that. I'm going to stop right there. Okay, let's go ahead and add. Now let's go ahead and add a red heart at the top. So I'm going to take this red going, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to go around my polka dots. So I'm not going to try to not paint them, but that's why it's great to have these little watercolor brushes that have these nice little springy points that keep a perfect, nice point for these little paintings, because they work perfectly for this. You could also paint this all red and then come in back with like a Uniball pen and make white polka dots if you wanted to do it that way. Or you could take a wax crayon and you could color in your polka dots. Then whatever goes on top would just be resisted and it wouldn't go inside of your polka dots. So that's another way to do it. lots of ways to create the polka dots. Okay, so I'm going to come in, just do a little bit of bright pink again. Okay, let's see. Oh, my color tray is getting full of color here. Let's do just this bright pink here. And I'm going to do the part of the stripes in pink, and then I'm going to do the other ones in peach. Kind of a pretty little color combination. And maybe I will carry the, well, that's red. It might seep into each other. We'll see how it is still pretty wet over there, but I'm going to try. I'm going to push the limit a little bit here. Okay, super cute. Let's take a little bit of that pink and let's choose a hill down here to do. So I'm going to choose the lightest pink here. That looks cute. And then I want to choose that raspberry bright kind of color. I'm going to put that here. And I'm okay if my colors bleed into each other a little bit. All those colors will play nice to each other. There won't be any canceling out of a color or making mud if it does. So I'm fine if my colors kind of gently bleed into the next one. That will just add to the kind of the character of the hillside. So the hills are just not a lot of color, but they're just a nice little accent to this drawing. Now, if you feel like your hills want even a little bit more depth, you can come in with your same color. I'm just wetting that right out of my box, and I'm adding that color to the top of my hill. Lots more pigment. Then I can come in and just hit it with a little bit of a water, and that's going to make that color just kind of slide down and blend into those areas. So I'm going to do that with the same here. So I'm going to pick up quite a bit of pigment, come up to the top of my hill, and then I'm going to rinse my brush out, clean water, touch that line a little bit, and drag it down towards me. Gives it a real pretty shadow look without a lot of effort. And let's see, where was that raspberry color? I have to look at my chart because I don't use it very often. It's a pretty color though. I should use it more often. Let's come here. Okay, cute. All right, let's figure out what we want to do for some of our little banners up here. So I'm going to choose to do, let's do purple, and we're going to do purple, pink, and red, I guess. Purple, pink, and red. So this one would be purple. So just set out whatever kind of pattern you want to do. This one here, I'll do purple, purple, pink, red, and purple. Okay, it is going to be. Now let's choose a little bit of red. And again, I'm kind of just dipping it right out of my paint pan. So it's quite a bit of pigment on the end of this. So it's going to show up pretty well. That's red, and then those other two will be pink. So I kind of went out of my line. There we go. Get my lines back in order here. And then the last one I did was the bright pink. I'm going to come in here. It's got just the tiniest bit of water in it, but not a lot. Okay, so let's do a peach up here. So I'm going to take a little bit of peach, and let's do this heart here, peach, in between. And maybe this time I will do peach on this one too, just to change it up. I could pop in a little bit of pink in that peach color to make it just a little bit more corally, and that would be pretty. Like choose a side, so I'll go on my left side of that and pop in that color just to give it a little bit more oomph. Now what I should have done is I should have finished the rest of my hearts up here. So I should have put in my, whatever I wanted these to be, I should have added those as well. I always think of those things after I have my brush washed out. Okay, and then let's see, we're going to pop in a red one somewhere. Maybe here. Okay, and that one should probably be purple then. That would set up my pattern. So let's make this one purple. I keep on seeing my shadow from my cloud, and I'm thinking I didn't erase my hearts, but actually it's my blue cloud in the background. Now for these blue clouds, I'm just gonna pick up a light blue color and I'm gonna go ahead and paint these clouds lightly. I'm gonna leave some white areas in there and just paint these little clouds in before I do my background. Come in here as well. These look nice if they're different, kind of a different color, slight different color than what your background blues might be. If you're going to do a bluish color sky, is to have your clouds just a slightly different color. Now I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to do a little bit of pen work on my picture until this part gets dry before I do my background. So I'm going to just choose a 01 and come in and work on his face. So I'm just going to go trace around his eyes. Now when I do the center part, I'm going to try to leave a catch light. So I want to be able to have a little bit of white in there, not all the way dark. Around. There, cute as can be. Now I'm going to do his muzzle. And we're going to pop in some whiskers. So I'm going to turn my paper sideways so I can pull those easier. It's better if you can have a nice big stroke so they're not so tight, like that. I'm going to do his teeth, but I did want to pop a little bit of bluish gray in there. All right, and now you can decide whether or not you want his nose done. If you do his nose in this dark one, you want to leave room for your red, so it's not just like this black line that goes through your red. So kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to use a glitter pen to do my glasses in. So I'm just going to pick up a red glitter pen. Red one. Glitter pens are so much fun. And I'm just going to trace around my circles with my glitter pens. Okay, and then I have to take note of how I drew it. See if my hands are kind of the same. Okay, I think that's good. Cute. Fun, fun, fun. Now you can decide, does he get bows that come back? I didn't do that on my first one, but maybe I'll do that on my second one. So I'll just make them at an angle and make the bows come back. Cute. Now let's pick up a little bit of blue, just a tiny bit. I'm going to mix it with my gray, and I'm going to paint his teeth just as like a blue-gray color, just a tiny bit. I think he's super sweet. Now I'm going to take another gel pen in purple, and that's what I'm going to put the strings here on. So I'm going to make my banner strings in glitter purple. Crossed, cute as can be. I'm also going to do my X's and my O in this purple. Sparkly pen. I also did a little detail of my hearts in there. So let's see, I'm going to come up here, my bows, do my little silly lines, kind of just real wispy with my hand, and come up here with another one. I like that little bit of silliness look. And that's about it for all of the pen work that I'm going to be doing tonight. I'm not going to be doing any more pen work. Let's pop in just a tiny bit more blue on those clouds. I'm going to pick up just a little bit of a brighter blue. Pop that in there. I'm just doing real light. A little bit of pushing the color around, not being exact, being a little free with that color. Okay, great. Now I'm going to switch up to a bigger size brush. So I'm going to be moving to my 10. So this one's a 10 Velvet Touch. So this is going to work better for my background. Now for my background, I did do a couple different colors. So this is like blue. I did kind of a blue everywhere, just a light wash all the way down. And then while my paper was still wet, I picked up a little bit of that pink that we did like on the basket, a little bit of the purple, and I brushed just a tiny bit of hint of color there. So you might want to try that look if you would like. Go ahead and to build your sky, if you're going to be doing the background, I mix a fair amount of that color. So I have it ready, so I'm not wasting a lot of time having my color dry on me. So I'm going to have this off here ready to go. Sometimes I think tube paint would be better for this process because I could get it out of there quicker. Okay, but this is a small painting, so I'm not going to need a ton. but that's pretty good. I'm going to rinse my brush out so I kind of have a little bit more even consistency coming out of there. Give this a tap. Then I'm going to be picking this up, and I'm going to be going back and forth this way. So I'm going to start at the top. I start down just a little bit and then bring my color up, because skies normally are darker at the bottom and then they get lighter. Okay, and then I'm just coming down. Remember, watercolor is not permanent, so we don't want to spend a ton of time rubbing into those areas that we already did, because we don't want to reactivate them. Okay. I can tell I need to put probably a little bit more blue color into my clouds, or maybe even a pencil stroke or two, just to kind of bring them out a little bit more. Down the paper we go. Okay, now we have this paper, it's pretty wet, and now I'm going to go ahead and pick up my next color. So I'm just going to use whatever I have in my palette. So I've just got a little bit of pink here. I'm just going to lay some of this pink and some of the purple in. I'm just going to blush it in a little bit here and there. Okay, add a little bit more water because I want it to be soft. Don't want it to be super busy. I want the bunny to be the main interest. Okay, and I'm thinking that is super cute. Love it. Got a lot of water up here puddling. Do you see how those little areas are kind of making those mushroomy look? It's not a bad look on this one since it's the sky, but that just means I had a lot of water there and it's kind of puddling. So I should have paid a little bit more attention. I'm going to take my pencil here and I'm going to follow these clouds just a tiny bit and kind of strengthen them a little bit so they divide or separate out a little bit from the paper. But instead of using the black marker, I'm going to use my pencil. Now I'm going to go ahead and sign this. So I'm going to turn it sideways, and I chose to do it right here along the basket. And I'm going to do it in pencil. There we go. Cute as can be. I think they both have a really sweet look. I love how they do it. And actually, I kind of like this one just a tiny bit better. He's a little bit bigger in the center. There's some reason why I always draw a tiny bit bigger when I'm doing them live than when I'm doing the original. So I have no idea why I do that. It just usually happens that way. But I like how he looks. I love that little fuzziness of the little character face. I think it's super sweet. For those who might be on the replay, I wanted to point out I do have a Ko-fi channel. So on there it's like a Patreon channel where you can get tracers. I do usually include 2 sets of the tracers, and then now recently I've also added the original copy, or like you could make a copy of mine. So then you have a color reference of how I did things as well. I know as a student, and I still consider myself a student, that I would have enjoyed to have like a reference to see what my teacher was telling me and explaining to me, and it's kind of nice to have that reference. So I figured if I like it, you might like it too. So you can find me over there as well. Plus, it's just a great way to support my channel. You can pop on over there and see what I got going on. Let's change this view over here. And that is it for YouTube tonight. Thanks so much for coming on in and seeing me. And like I said, if you are not familiar with my page, I appreciate you hitting the like button, hitting the thumbs up, subscribe if you would like to see more content. And I'll be back next week with more draw-alongs. So thanks everyone for joining in this evening. Hit the end button, which is always sometimes remarkably hard to find.